When I first started with minimalism, of course, my first question was, what do I want out of life? What do I want out of minimalism? And how can minimalism help me improve my life? Okay, that's not one question, that's like 3 questions. But that was basically kind of what I wanted to kind of first figure out for myself. But after I kind of defined that and I knew that I wanted to escape materialism, I wanted to have less stress, I wanted to have more time with my family, I wanted to escape my shopping addiction and quit focusing on having more things and obtaining more stuff, only to have more things to manage, maintain, and organize. So I knew what I wanted, but then my next question became, okay, but now what? How do I actually do that, and what do I declutter? So today I'm going to share with you 50 items that I have decluttered from my life. I can definitely think of more, but these are just some ideas to get you kind of started, or maybe to help you think of some things that you might possibly not have thought about that you could do without. I love Joshua Becker's definition of minimalism, and it's the intentional promotion of the things that we most value in life and the removal of anything that distracts us from it. What a perfect definition. So by no means does this mean you have to declutter all of these items. It's really about having the things that we most value and removing that excess, removing the things that burden us. But hopefully they can give you some ideas of where to begin. And be sure to share your own ideas down in the comments below. Let me know what are some items that you have decluttered from your own life. That way we can have an exhaustive list to help each other along the way. Okay, without further ado, let's get on with the list. First up is the television. My husband and I have decluttered our television years ago. I have a video all about why we decluttered it and how it's actually changed our lives. It definitely impacted our marriage, and it's just made us a whole lot happier as a family. So I won't really dive into that because I have separate videos on that. Next up is Netflix and Hulu. My husband and I actually did have Netflix and Hulu at one point, and for a while we were just so busy doing other things that we kind of would watch them every now and then, and they just kind of became an extra expense out of the month. And so that became something too that we also didn't really want to focus too much on. If we really wanted to watch something, there are tons of documentaries for free on YouTube, which tended to be kind of the things that we used to watch anyway. We didn't really get too much into the series and things like that, because then we found that it became a negative habit where we would binge watch, especially the K-dramas. I loved the K-dramas. And that became something that we would spend up until like 2 or 3 in the morning watching K-dramas. And for what? Like, so we could be exhausted the next day. We just decided to cancel these things, and especially we didn't have a TV anymore. It was the perfect time. Next up is video games. This is not something that I decluttered. It was actually my husband, but he was definitely addicted to video games, and he made the decision when we got rid of the TV to get rid of his video game console. And he tells me that he's a lot happier because of it, because video games for him was definitely an addiction. 1 hour would turn into 2, 3, and the next thing he knew, he was up at midnight when he had to get up at 4:30 in the morning the next day to go to work. For him, getting rid of it became something that just bought him so much more time. He felt so much better by doing other hobbies. So like woodworking, painting, things that he had kind of left out of his life, he could kind of go back into, and it didn't make him feel drained at the end of the day. Awards and certificates. That's something that I decluttered from my life. When I was in high school, I had this like big box of like certificates and medals and things that I had won when I was in school. It was something that for a while I kept, and I realized that I had to declutter it because this was something that when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, really just when I was a kid in general, I wanted to have awards and things because I thought that if I obtained my parents' approval and then they would be proud of me, mainly my dad, that I would feel the love that I craved. And so really when I started minimalism and I was going through my things of things that I should declutter, I realized that some of these items that I had didn't bring me joy, especially my awards and my certificates. They didn't bring me any joy because I realized I didn't do it for me. I was doing it for someone else. And so getting rid of that, it was so freeing. If you have any particular items that you have in your home that remind you of something sad, or that you realize you had these because of what you wanted somebody else to perceive you as, I think it can be incredibly freeing to get rid of these items. This next one is a vacuum. We have laminate flooring. The home that we lived in before has laminate flooring, so I can just use a broom. I don't see a need for a vacuum. This one might sound odd, but my wedding dress, favors, cards, just wedding related paraphernalia. I ended up selling that. My husband rented his tux. There was a lot of things that we had for our wedding that we either sold or rented. So we definitely had a cheap wedding. And for us, it really wasn't that big of a deal to get rid of these items because it's not about the physical stuff. It's about the relationship that we have and the memory that we had. And of course we had photos to remember those things. So I didn't feel a need to keep those things. Souvenirs, I think this one can be a pretty easy one to get rid of, but it's also something that we don't really purchase anymore for other people. If we do travel, we tend to get things that they can eat, like candies, especially when we go to Mexico. There's different kinds of candies that they have there than here. So that's something that can be kind of enjoyed that doesn't add extra clutter to the home. Toaster and a mini oven. At one point we did have both of these things, and I don't know, we got them when we got married because we thought that we should have these things. Like if you have a home, you have to have a toaster and a mini oven. But I figured out that I could just use a griddle for pretty much anything, and we didn't actually need these items. Dishwasher and dish rack. This is something that we got rid of when we moved into this home because the previous home also had a smaller kitchen, and the dish rack just always seemed to kind of collect items. And so when I initially was starting with minimalism, I thought, well, what if I just declutter the dish rack itself, and then it will stop attracting all the piles of dishes, because that would force me to actually wash and dry dishes immediately. Well, not immediately, maybe sometimes after eating, but I find that for us, it generally keeps the kitchen clean. Typically, not always, but typically. Hair curlers, straighteners, dryers, and just hair related appliances. I used to have several of these kinds of items, and I would constantly curl and straighten my hair, but I found that it was just causing more damage. So then I had to use these items in order to make my hair look healthy. And it was just a constantly never-ending cycle of damaging my hair, making it look like it's healthy, making it damage more. And I just decided I was done. When I was in high school, I chopped my hair. It was actually down to my waist, but it was so damaged. I chopped it and decided that I was not going to use any of these items again. I mean, I have like 2 or 3 times, like I think for my wedding and just special events that I borrow. I don't actually have these items because I use them maybe every 2-3 years. So for me, I find that my hair has been a lot healthier now that I have removed these items and I don't use them. Lotions, creams, body scrubs, face washes, and just all sorts of personal care stuff. Basically, castile soap is what I use as a body wash. I basically use it in a little foaming container in order to use it as a face wash. And then I also use coconut oil as my lotion. So that's my conditioner. I sometimes whiten my teeth with that with baking soda. I mean, it just basically castile soap and coconut oil is like my personal care for pretty much everything. Tampons and disposable pads. I have had disposable pads and a menstrual cup for years now, and I love it. I could not see myself going back because I used to have like these packs of menstrual pads and packs of tampons that would just take up a bunch of space. They would cost money all the time. They'd harm the environment. And these things that I've had, I did spend a little bit more upfront, but I haven't purchased these items in years. I can leave a link down below for the ones that I particularly use, but know that everybody is different. For menstrual cups, there's definitely a learning curve, so just kind of do a little bit of research before you actually begin. And it's also a lot easier for women that have had children like me, so just kind of do your research, figure it out, but I love these, and I definitely don't see myself going back to those. Statement jewelry. I used to be one that would constantly have these different like cheap necklaces that I would trade out for different outfits and different colors to match my purses, to match my shoes. Oh my goodness, I had a horrible shopping addiction. I had like an array of purses, an array of necklaces, and it all kind of mixed and matched. And I now have jewelry that I love, it's good quality, that I wear pretty much all the time. This one's a simple one, straws. I just don't really see that it's needed. I mean, I can just definitely drink from the cup itself. If I really wanted straws, then I would probably buy like a reusable straw, but I just don't see a need for straws in general. So we don't have these. Ziploc bags. We purchased reusable Ziploc bags. You could also use mason jars or just your plastic Tupperware containers in the home so that you don't have to constantly buy these things. But a word from the wise, do not put a knife in with your fruit inside the Ziploc bags because who would have thunk that it would puncture the bag? Disposable dish sponges. I have used cloth sponges for a while now, and I love these things. You just throw them in the washing machine and use them over and over again. So no more disposable sponges for me. Pre-made mixes. I used to really dread making bread and baking and things like that. And that was really, I think, because I didn't have the practice. But once you kind of start doing it a few times, you'll find that actually making things like bread is a lot easier than you might think. Aluminum foil, clear wrap, and parchment paper. For parchment paper, we use a little silicone roll thingamajig. I don't know what it's called, so I'll leave it linked down below. But for clear wrap, there's a different option that you can reuse. It's like a beeswax cover. And then as far as aluminum foil, I don't know. I don't cook with it. I don't really find a need for it. I don't know of an alternative though. So if you know it, let us know down in the comments. This next one's a biggie, and it's sentimental items from previous relationships, or just items in general that remind you of things that are sad, or they kind of keep you stuck in the past. And I decluttered all things from previous relationships, even before I started dating my husband, as a way to kind of free myself and say, it's okay to let go. I want to move on. I want to have a better life. I want to have a different life going forward. And so it was definitely freeing. I think that the items that we have in our home can really say a lot about our memories, our just what things we value. And if you're keeping something that reminded you of a previous relationship, is it because you're still wanting to hold on? Is it because you're afraid to let go? What are the reasons behind that? I would say probably take some time to actually think about those things. And if it's something that you're ready to let go of, then give yourself permission to do so with love and compassion. This next one is social media. Obviously, I am speaking on social media now, but I've actually been without other forms of social media for even longer. I actually went for 2 years without any form of social media, including this YouTube channel. And then that was kind of what prompted me to make this YouTube channel. But before that, I had completely experienced many changes in my life. And the comparison trap, the constantly wanting to buy things, to look like somebody else, to have that perfect life that they have, I think that it all just kind of feeds on itself, that it would make me constantly want more things because I wasn't enough and I didn't have enough. So eliminating social media helped me make huge strides towards minimalism. A lighter one, throw pillows. I used to have tons of pillows on our bed. We still have some pillows on our bed. I don't sleep without a pillow, but I'd have just pillows just for decoration that would constantly just throw off of the bed that were never really meant to be slept on, until I realized, why do I do this every single night? I have to pop these things off, put them back on the bed. So I just eliminated them altogether. Bottled water. We don't buy bottles of water anymore. I have my Yeti water bottles that I absolutely love because they keep things cool in the summertime and they keep things hot in the wintertime. But besides that, we have a Berkey filter, so we constantly just have clean water, and we just don't need to buy bottles of water anymore. A dresser. I decluttered big bulky items like a dresser. We had this very large dresser, and once I started to declutter clothes and get rid of things, I realized I didn't need to put things in this particular item. Maybe if you have big bulky furniture pieces in your home, once you kind of start decluttering, it actually can open so much more space getting rid of the bulky items. Not only that, but you can make some money off of them. So kind of look around your home and see what big bulky furniture pieces can you get rid of to clear up some space in your home, get rid of some items that you are probably stuffing in those drawers, and also make some money off of it. Specialty cleaners. I think, again, baking soda, vinegar, cast-oil soap pretty much clean any surface. So I don't have any special like floor cleaner, wood cleaner, all those sorts of different things. I just basically use the same stuff for the entire home. Plastic cups, plates, and silverware. I don't know, don't really find a need. We can just wash, dry, and put them away, and it keeps our home neat and clean and kind of removes that expense. Disposable razors. For the longest time, I had an electric shaver and it worked very well. But as my skin has improved with the eczema, now I have used a safety razor, and I love this thing. And it's actually super cheap. And the blades have been something that have lasted me throughout the entire year and will probably easily last into the next year. Cookbooks. This one I think is something that my fantasy self wanted to have because I really wanted to be like this gourmet chef or something, I don't know. But I would never actually go towards these like elaborate recipes. So if I really wanted to make something, I usually look up a YouTube video on how to do it because I want people to show me like what they actually put into it, how they actually do it. I just don't find a need for cookbooks. Carbonated drinks. This is something that I did a long time ago, back when I was in high school. I originally started from carbonated drinks to juices, then to teas, and then now I could pretty much drink water with my meals and I'm perfectly content. Flower vases and wine glasses. I used to have both of these things, and I think that a mason jar can pretty much do both in one. Paper calendar. I don't have paper calendars. I have Google Calendar. I absolutely love it. I share a little bit more about that on what's in my iPhone video if you want to check that one out. Baby shoes and one-time outfits. Let's be honest, if you have a baby, they wear them for like 30 minutes and then they outgrow them. So I never really purchased one-time outfits for our kiddos. A lot of the things that we had that were nicer were actually like given to us, but most of their clothing I would just purchase used. They don't remember. Baby food maker and just baby fancy gadgets. I think that a lot of the things that are sold to new mothers or just mothers in general are things that we don't really need. I had so many things that I realized, why did I even buy this? Like I never used it. It was never really helpful. I think babies need a lot less than we actually think they do. Battery operated toys and just battery operated stuff in general. We do still have a couple of battery operated toys that they use a lot, but I try to eliminate those. One, because they're just highly stimulating. They kind of remove their need for using their own creativity, but then also because I just don't want to have to constantly be like buying batteries and replacing batteries and things. I do have reusable rechargeable batteries, but I just didn't want to bother with that either. So this is something that I haven't like gotten rid of completely because we still have a couple of them, but it's something that I absolutely don't buy anymore. So along with that is disposable batteries, because like I said, I've reduced the items that we now have that are battery operated. We don't need as many batteries, but we have rechargeables, and so we don't have to constantly buy these things for those items. Paper towel rolls and disposable napkins. Every once in a while, there's a couple of people that come to our home and they're like, where are the napkins? I'm like, cloth napkins, like it's okay. But other than that, like it's never really felt weird. It's never really been something that we've really missed. And also it kind of removes that extra expense as well. Along with that is Kleenex or just face tissue in general. Like if somebody is sick in the home, we have a designated booger rag where we'll say, hey, this is my booger rag. Like nobody wants to touch that anyway. So trust me, we're not going near that. But yeah, if we need to just wipe our noses, we get a rag, toilet paper. We've actually never purchased Kleenex or face tissue. Holiday decor. When I first got married, I was so excited that I had a home to decorate, and so I would find myself constantly at the Home Goods and the Marshalls and the Hobby Lobby trying to find just decor items for the home. Things that were absolutely non-essentials. I would constantly change things for spring and for summer and for fall. And I decided I was going to do away with that. I didn't want to purchase those things anymore. So I got rid of a huge majority of them, pretty much kept like the Christmas stuff, and don't buy these items anymore. Manuals, it's pretty simple. I think if anything is kind of broken in our home, we're kind of trying to figure it out. Honestly, a huge majority of us will probably look to YouTube to figure it out. Like, who's with me? Is it just me? I've tossed the manuals. Small kitchen gadgets like lemon squeezers, spiralizers, things like that. Things that you probably never use that are kind of stashed down in your drawer. You don't need those. Name brand purses, and I guess let's just call it my collection of purses. I used to have tons of purses, green ones, blue ones, small ones, big ones, things that I would basically swap out for different outfits that weren't making me any happier, that were just cluttering my closet. So I basically sold a huge amount of them and donated some of them, and I now just limit myself to one that I basically wear all the time. Loofahs. I used to buy loofahs, dispose of them like shortly thereafter because they would just like rip apart and fall apart. We now use a wooden bamboo brush. It's been really useful for us. We can, you know, reach hard to reach areas, and we just haven't had to use loofahs anymore. Shaving creams and depilatory creams. Pretty much soap and water is how I shave. Follow up again with some coconut oil. I don't feel that need to buy those items anymore. This next one, take it with a grain of salt, but paid personal care. So things like my eyebrows, getting haircuts, getting my nails done, waxes, things like that. That's something that I don't really spend money on. I actually have gotten my nails done, and it's because I've been treated to it for Mother's Day and things like that. But other than that, I don't spend money on these things. I've cut my hair for years. I do my own eyebrows. I basically do my own personal care. For me personally, I would rather spend this amount of money that I would spend paying somebody to do that for me and having to drive there and back and wait in line, things like that. I'd rather save that money and that time towards a bigger purchase that would bring me a lot of value in the long run. So for example, this piano that I have behind me, I had wanted to play the piano for years, but I always thought that's for rich people. It's something that I would prefer personally to save that money that I would be spending monthly on something like this that I could do myself towards something that I value that will serve me better in the long run. Just my personal preference. So again, take it with a grain of salt. If you have the budget, this is something that you love, that you treat yourself to, I'm not telling you to stop that. It's just, again, my personal preference. Gala style clothing and special someday clothing. I do still have a dress that is pretty, I mean, I consider it to be fancy, but I wear that every Christmas, every winter time. But other than that, I had like my prom dresses that like, when am I ever gonna wear a prom dress again? And I had like 4 of them. I had a bad shopping addiction, you guys. I don't know why I needed 4 prom dresses. Like, prom was done and gone. So I got rid of these kind of someday clothing or just things that I would love to aspirationally wear if something were to happen. I sold them, got rid of them, and I've never missed them. Large, bulky, unused gym equipment. Again, I think that sometimes we have these like ideas of the life that we want to have and the person that we want to be, like our ideal self, and we definitely fell into that. We had different sorts of equipment that we rarely used. I had a treadmill and I actually did use that for a while, but then I found that I much preferred doing body weight workouts. And once I kind of figured out that I liked that over constantly running in a treadmill, which kind of made me bored, I didn't really enjoy it, I gave myself permission to get rid of it. So I've sold that, sold some other equipment that we didn't use. If you bought some gym equipment, you don't find yourself using it, give yourself permission and the forgiveness that you didn't actually use it to let it go. Maybe find a different type of workout. Maybe it's not that you didn't want to work out, that you didn't want to exercise. It's just that that type of exercise maybe just wasn't for you. Waffle makers, cake pop makers, griddles, and other small appliances. I actually had all of these particular items and I would reach for them maybe like once a year, if that. So I got rid of all of these items and they cleared up so much space in my kitchen. And maybe you'll disagree with me, but I think a waffle pretty much tastes just the same as a pancake. I've survived. Decorations and knickknacks that I either don't find to be beautiful or don't have sentimental value. I heard one time about visual clutter and I started learning that when you go to a museum, you have this one wall with this one painting and you can actually appreciate that one painting because it's not like cluttered up with a whole bunch of other paintings that you're having to like distract yourself. Which one do I look at? So when I got choosy about the home decor that I had in my home, all of a sudden I could appreciate so much more the decor that I did have. Eyeshadows, lip liners, contouring sticks, and basically a huge chest of makeup. I do still have makeup. I enjoy makeup, but it's a very small amount. I basically have what fits in one little package. Once something runs out, then I buy another one, but I don't have any kind of like trial items like eyeshadows and different colors of things. I basically have my one, and if I did want to try a different type of shade, then I wait until that one runs out before I purchase a new one. Candles that I purchased for looks but didn't ever really intend to use. I had a lot of candles in the home. Like I'm telling you, I had like a designated closet for my candles and lanterns and things that I would just kind of swap out with the seasons. I was so addicted to this that this one was actually hard for me to get rid of until I just decided I'm not gonna do with this anymore. I'm going to enjoy simplicity and enjoy just having the same decor throughout the year, and I got rid of these. And actually, I haven't missed them. Books that I've loved that I don't plan on rereading. This one was hard for me to get rid of as well because I love books. I love the value of books. I have been taught to appreciate books and that they are a treasure. I mean, somebody spent so many hours in order to create this book that you might have in your hands, and just to kind of let it go to me felt like a waste. Until I realized that I could donate them to my library. And that way, if I did want to reread them, then I could go to my library, check them out. But in the meantime, if I never do read them, somebody else will. So this for me was a helpful way to get rid of something that is very emotional to me. And this next one, I think this is 51, but it's okay, is things for hobbies that I used to enjoy, but I now don't. I really wanted to include this, even though it's an addition, is because sometimes we have things because we want to have a certain lifestyle, like I mentioned, like we think of ourselves as we're going to be this person, we're going to have this ideal life, and letting go of these items can be like the death of a dream, like letting go of, we're not going to live that particular lifestyle. I used to love cake decorating and that was something that I really enjoyed. And then all of a sudden I had kids and I had other things to manage, and suddenly cake decorating became like work because I had to clean and I didn't want to do all that. And so I didn't enjoy it anymore, but I still kept the big tub of all the cake decorating supplies because maybe, or because it was a dream that I had at one point and I spent a lot of money on these items, and my husband even made me like a little cake turning table thing. And I felt bad letting go of these items, even though I knew it's not something that I enjoyed anymore. It wasn't something I was going to do anymore. So I made up my mind that I would give them to somebody who would enjoy them. So hopefully this list has been helpful for you. Maybe there's items in your home that you don't use, that you feel like you're never going to use. Give yourself permission to get rid of them and maybe find ways that other people may enjoy them. And that might help you have that peace to let them go. I thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like more videos on minimalism and slow, intentional living, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss when I post a new video. And also don't forget to let me know what are some items that you have decluttered in your own home. Until next time, bye for now.